Hey guys, welcome to the Arsenal Vision post-match podcast. My name is Jessica. I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at Jessinho Tweets. No, I am not Elliot Smith, but you can block him on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. This is going to be our pre-match live stream for Arsenal versus Liverpool in our cup tie, semifinal, last leg of Carabao Cup, whatever. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? All those things. Make sure that, everything is working before we go ahead and get started. Elliot cannot make it today. He cannot make it today. I let him know that we would be talking about a goalkeeper in regards to Arsenal and transfers, and he didn't want to come. He didn't want to talk about it. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, he's not going to be here. So I have a special guest on with me today, and we'll see if Paul and Scott make it. I'm not sure if they're for sure going to make it, but I do have a special guest here to talk all about the game, some Arsenal transfer rumors, lineups, predictions. Can we win? How do we win? All of those things. But before we get started, make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, without further ado, I'm going to bring in my special guest, Sophie Nicolau. Hey, Sophie!
Hey, how you doing? As Joey Tribbiani would say. How you doing?
I am good. If you guys don't know Sophie, you should. She has her own YouTube channel and Arsenal podcast called The Highbury Squad, where she talks to Kevin Campbell, all types of Arsenal YouTubers, content creators, people in and around Arsenal, some MLS stuff as well. So Sophie is a pro. So I'm happy to have you here today. Are you nervous? Are you nervous about the game? How are you feeling?
No, firstly, thanks for the amazing introduction. Hope everyone can hear me well. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all the Arsenal Vision listeners. And Jess, you're rocking it. I'm very proud of you. Loving what you're doing. You know what's really weird, Jess? I'm going to be honest about something. And I hate when people say I'm going to be honest about something because they're like, aren't you honest? Why do you have to say that? So I'll strike that, but say I wasn't nervous until after the Man United and Tottenham games yesterday. Something started sitting uneasily with me. And I'm not going to be negative, and I don't want to be negative, and I'm not being negative. It's just that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach where you felt so confident coming off that 10-man draw at Anfield. Being in a place in the Premier League that many people, including us fans, didn't think we had any business being in, and this morning I woke up and I was like, man, I've been feeling so confident about this game because I think I've been looking maybe too ahead because it's Chelsea at Wembley and we do very well against Chelsea at Wembley in finals of late. And this is a trophy that we haven't won since 93, since Wenger never won it. Super Kev and I talk about it all the time. He was playing in that team that won it the last time. So I'm not sure if it's our midfield, but there's something that just makes me a little bit nervous, about today.
I have to agree. I am nervous, but I'm always nervous when we play against Liverpool, whether it's home or away. I think regardless of what lineup they can put out, it just always seems like we struggle with them a little bit. It doesn't seem like Arteta has figured out the formula to getting something from this team, and it seemed like in the last leg, we really did well because we kind of bunkered in and stayed defensively disciplined. Do you think that could be a way that we win the game today is by maybe taking some of the nuggets that we had from the last match into this one and maybe being a little bit more defensive, maybe back three, something like that? Or do you think just go for it?
Momentum is everything too, Jess. And with everything that's going on with postponements in the Premier League, you've got players and then the roster the squad evolving and changing in cup games. The Forest game was a bit of not a confidence killer, but it was a blow. That was a terrible performance. We really didn't have anything about us. All the grit and that determination and the things that you're talking about in terms of finding those nuggets where we can, win a game, it felt a little bit lost. But we do well in one-off situations, even though this is a second leg. There's something about Arsenal. We've proven that as much as we've been on our knees in the last few years, we've won 4 FA Cups. We're good in those one-off games. Keeping that mentality and that type of belief and confidence over a span of 38 games in the Premier League is what's proven to be the toughest nut to crack. But I think because we have a different DNA and profile of players now, Ramsdale's different, Ben White is different, Gabriel's built differently, Tomiyasu's built differently. And I think even if some of those players aren't playing, their presence in training or just being around the players or being a teammate, I think makes all the difference. There's no apathy at Arsenal now. Everyone who's there wants to play for the club. So I think with that, that's the kind of part where I'm trying to tap into today to give me that confidence and belief that, yes, Arteta can find those little nuggets in order to drive the team forward and make them believe that we can win today, even when we face adversity. And I think that Liverpool 10-men game is the way to go, because the Forest game was disappointing. Of course, the Premier League game was postponed. So I think that's the lot, I don't like using the rearview mirror syndrome, but that's the game that you take as a manager and as a team to say, you know what, we can do this.
Arteta also kind of talked about needing the fans in this match. We're home at the Emirates, and it kind of feels like it's become a place that people don't like to come to. Teams don't like to come to the Emirates anymore. Do you think that the fans and home field advantage per se, and those types of soft factors can give us an edge today that we really didn't have at Anfield? I mean, you may be able to say that 10 men, away from home at Anfield is probably the toughest test. Now we can kind of flip it on its head. 11 men at home. Do you think that could be a deciding factor on whether or not we can get through to the final being at home?
I think it's a brilliant point, Jess, because I think one of the pluses for Arsenal Football Club this season have been our fans, home and away, especially away. I mean, at that game at Anfield, we were the ones singing the loudest. We were the ones chanting. We were the ones that were getting behind our team wholeheartedly. And to be honest, the Emirates has been labeled, the prawn sandwich 2.0 by many over the last few years. But this season, it's different. There's a vibe there. There's an atmosphere there. I think we're trying to rebuild that intimidation factor. Kev and I talk a lot about how at Highbury, we beat teams in the tunnel. You look over and you see the types of players that we had, and you already felt like, man, we're onto a losing thing. I think that's something Chelsea developed at Stamford Bridge under Jose Mourinho. I think it's something that Klopp reignited at Anfield. I think it's something Pep has done at the Etihad, in the sense that you look over and you're like, wow, it's Manchester City. And I believe that we're on that trajectory. The difference between us and those teams that I've mentioned is that we haven't won at the highest level yet in the Premier League. But in cup situations, I think we've been pretty good. Of course, we had that disappointing League Cup final against Manchester City, but I've been really proud of our fans at home this season, getting behind the team. But that all comes, Jess, from having players that you love again, that you can fall in love with again. It's been hard to get behind Mustafi and Sokratis and, Kolasinac and Bellerin. It's been tough to watch some of that, and especially at home where you've been turned over. So now we've got a player profile that kids, adults, they're like, hold on a second. Whose name am I going to get on the back of my shirt? Is it Ramsdale? Is it Tomiyasu? Is it White? Is it Gabriel? Is it Partey? Is it Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, Martinelli? There is a breed of player that we can get behind and root for and fall in love with all over again. And that, I think, has been the true instigator in fans at home, especially, and away, getting behind the team. But building a fortress at home is key. We've got to be better, and I think that we're on the right trajectory there. And I think these new players have a lot to do with that.
I agree. I think it's been, just like a year ago, it was difficult to kind of see what players you really could get behind. And you
Mhm.
started seeing like Saka peek through, ESR peek through, Kieran Tierney. Now it's the whole entire team. So that's added to that positivity, around the Emirates, as you've kind of said already. But there has been some negativity around this fixture, this cup tie, and Liverpool versus Arsenal, Klopp versus Arteta, postponements, what's going on there. And The Athletic has also came out with a article just today. I mean, it's a perfect time to put it out, but
Mm.
more evidence and more narrative around Liverpool potentially trying to fudge the system to get the postponement. What have you made of all of this hoopla? Because it's been Arsenal and Liverpool in the media looked at as teams that were trying to G the system. Obviously, I think we both know that if it felt like Arsenal were getting more heat than anybody else. But what have you made out of all of this like postponement talk? And do you think that there will be an air of that kind of around the Emirates because it's kind of like a background story within
Mhm.
this cup tie?
Firstly, I'd like to just say hello to Sir Clive in chat, and I'm trying to be as positive as possible, and he is Sir Clive Palmer to me. So salute you. And Jess, this has become a bit of a mess, and the Premier League have created the mess. I tweeted a few days ago, and I said, you know what, you kind of reap what you sow. And it's so insane, isn't it, that I'm so happy Micah Richards stood up for Arsenal on Sky Sports, because that was really needed. That was required. We didn't break the rules. And just like every big corporation like Amazon or Apple, when they find a loophole in the tax system, they use it. And we've abided by the rules. We've taken a rule and we've utilized it to our advantage. And I just don't know, where was the energy when Burnley called their game off a couple of days ago? Where is all this energy for other teams? And it's so, it's amazing how Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher chose their moment to come out and talk about the fact that this is getting out of hand when their clubs weren't involved. Tottenham pretty much had a winter break. So did Manchester United. And all of a sudden, Arsenal find themselves in a bit of a pickle and have to make a move like every other team has done. And we're the bad guys. It's like that scene from Scarface, where Antonio Montana points, he goes, you guys need guys like me, the bad guy, where he's like, you need to point the finger at me. And it seems like everyone is so always ready to point the finger at Arsenal. Now, with that said, I think this has gotten out of hand and they need to get a grip on the situation. Otherwise, you start running into a little bit like American sports, the asterisks, who wins what, how do they win it? Who wins the Premier League? Like Manchester City hasn't affected them. They've gotten on with it as much as Pep has moaned, Klopp has moaned, Tuchel has moaned, Antonio Conte has moaned. Arteta's done it, I think, in a bit of a classier way than some of those other managers. And it was good to hear him come out the other day and say, we're going to fight teeth and nails to make sure that our name isn't dragged through the mud. And I believe that he's done less moaning. And I've not been an Arteta fan, as you know, but I believe he's done less moaning than any of those other managers. And maybe they feel like they have the right to because they've won the Premier League more recently than we have. Tottenham haven't. They haven't won anything. But Antonio Conte gets the respect, not because he's Tottenham manager, but I think he gets that respect because of what he did at Chelsea and what he's done at Juventus. So I find it really uncomfortable and uncool how we're used as the dartboard. And I'm kind of happy that we moved that game. I also was ready to play that game because Tottenham didn't have Son. But at the same time, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
It's been tough because I just feel like it's been a lot of negativity pointed towards us when it should be towards the people making the rules that allowed this to happen and didn't have that same energy. So for me, I'm just kind of like, let's move on from it. But the best
Mhm.
possible thing that I think we could get from this is siege mentality, us versus them. Everybody hates us. We hate you. And I want to see a little bit of that mixed in with that fighting spirit and that teeth and nails, that what Arteta was talking about the other day.
Yes, I don't know if
So
you've seen the and if you're a sports fan, everyone, and if even if you weren't a basketball fan, people love The Last Dance. Even if you're not a fan of the NFL, you would love watching Man in the Arena, which is the Tom Brady
yeah,
documentary. He talks about that all the time. As good as the New England Patriots were, there's this siege mentality. They hate us. They're trying to find everything they can to make us look like we're cheaters or unsportsmanlike, whatever it is. And it's so interesting, some of the stories that are coming out now about Arsenal. It's like I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but the timing of everything is very suspect in my opinion. And I think that if we can carry that and we can have that chip on our shoulder in sports, it's the perfect foil, right? It's going to be the perfect foil to challenge Tottenham and Manchester United and West Ham for top four. It's going to be the perfect foil tonight to go at Liverpool at home, you know, with our fans behind us. And I think that having that is good. And I think it's because Arsenal are becoming a little bit more relevant again. We've always
right.
been relevant because we're a big club, but now we're becoming relevant again because we're being more competitive. We're evoking a consistency about us, and people just don't like it, and we love it.
100%. You guys, we know that the team news is out. We're about to go
What's
over it right now.
Whoa, what's happening?
But there's before we do that, there's 360 of you guys watching. So make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so that you guys we can talk about the lineup. Hopefully it's that one there. Can we see it? Let's go ahead and put that down. All right. So what do
I
you
can
think?
see that from everyone in chat, they're saying Thomas Partey's on the bench. That's cool. That's very good.
Yeah. So we have Ramsdale in goal, Tomiyasu, White, Gabrielle, Tierney. So that's the strongest that we could possibly
Hmm.
go. Lakanga, Odegaard, Saka potentially in midfield, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, and Lacazette. And I'm seeing names on the subs that I've never seen before. Okay, so we have Hein, Holding, Alabiasu, never seen that name before. Tavares, Party, Patino, Saladin, Nketiah, and Bareth. So yeah, here we go. Here we go, you guys. Here we go. So it's
White, Gabriel, Lakonga, and Udegaard. So Udegaard's going to play a little bit deeper, and Smith Rowe will take on that role behind Saka and Martin. I like it. No excuses. That's a good team. What do you think, Jess?
it's a good team. I'm looking at the midfield though, and I'm feeling a little bit like it's a little bit fragile. Just because we obviously don't have like a second pivot. Lakonga to me, and maybe you can let me know what you thought, but maybe I was a little bit harsh on him, but I didn't think that he had the best game at Anfield. And I'm finding him to be somebody that I think is a little bit lightweight. When you add
Mm-hmm.
that to Odegaard, I'm thinking when you're playing up against Liverpool's midfield, what is that going to look like? And is it Saka in midfield in the 10 role, or possibly in a midfield three, or is it Smith Rowe? So what did you think? What do you think about Lakanga and how he's kind of been somebody that was really good kind of towards the beginning of the season and has kind of fallen off a little bit? Do you think that he can have somewhat of a redemption arc in this kind of, position for this game?
Well, I think that he had his redemption at Anfield,
So
in
you
that
thought he was better than I did then?
I rated him because, I watch a little bit of football kind of from all the leagues, but when you're 21 years old and you're made captain of Anderlecht by Vincent Company and you come recommended by Thierry Henry as well, I think that says a lot about you, not only as a player, but also as a character in terms of your leadership at such a young age. Now, when you come to the Premier League, that's a totally different beast. The game is faster. The everything moves much, much more quickly. So it's kind of like, when you're a boxer or a quarterback in the NFL, the game just moves so much quicker. Like you go from college, you go to the pros, and I think that there's this adaptation that we have to be a little bit patient for. I think he did well when he first came in, and then he had a few hiccups, but you're also only as good as the players around you. And to be fair to Sambi, he's played with Xhaka, who's questionable at times, and Thomas Partey has been inconsistent, even though we saw his brilliance, in those last couple of games before he went off to AFCON. So I believe in Sambi. I think he has a lot of talent, but this is going to be a game where he's got to step up. And I I think what you're concerned about is Odegaard playing more in that role, and how are they going to combine together? What does that look like? And is his instinct, Odegaard, going to be more to kind of push forward? Are we going to be more susceptible and open to the back? Does that then open up too much space for the back line? So I like him, but I think this is the kind of game that becomes the making of a player as well, Jess. And look, he's only played 6 months in English football. I don't think we could expect, genius every time he goes out there. But unfortunately, the instant gratification of playing in England is really severe. So let's see. It's going to be tough in that midfield against the Liverpool midfield. That's for sure. I haven't seen their team, but I'm assuming they're going full strength.
Well, let's take a look. I did see it up here. So this is what they've. Whoa, that took me away from where I wanted to be. Liverpool. Okay, here it is.
Matip, Fabinho, Henderson, Jones is starting. That's interesting. Gordon's starting. Jota and Firmino. Wow. I feel a little bit more buoyed right now.
Like a little bit. Okay, so what's
teeny tiny, una poquito.
Just a little bit. So I mean, it's a strongish back line, obviously. I mean, they have pretty much their people except for Allison. But Kelleher has been somebody who's done well in some of these cups, I think, if I'm remembering him correctly. Fabinho, pretty much as good as you can get there. Henderson, Curtis Jones, Gordon, Jota and Firmino. So it's strong, but not as strong as it could be, obviously, because the key people missing and Sadio Mane and Salah are not there. So I mean, we could do something. I mean, when you look at the midfield, if it's Fabinho, Henderson, and Gordon, because I think Gordon is a midfielder, then I think that's, I mean, that's not, it's strong, but it ain't, it's not that strong.
When you look at X factors, right? And our X factors versus theirs, Jota is an X factor right now, but he was silenced in that game at Anfield. Firmino is their kind of version of our Lacazette, right? He allows, but he's more that guy when Salah and Mane are playing. The holding up, the allowing them to be brilliant, the allowing the unselfishness, which is why they get more goals than him. If you look at the X factors, I mean, Van Dijk, of course, Alexander-Arnold, Robertson. You've got their great wall of Fabinho and Henderson, but I think we can challenge them with our pace up front. And if I was Arteta, I don't know how you feel about this, Jess, but for the first 20 minutes, I would really go at them. I would try and nick a goal. You got Martinelli, you've got Saka. I think we've got that creativity. Emile Smith-Rowe's back. Those guys are the ones who are getting the goals for us of late as well. That's been one of our Achilles' heel is if Aubameyang wasn't scoring, if Lacazette wasn't scoring, who's going to get goals? And of late, Martinelli, Smith-Rowe and Saka have all stepped up. Even Odegaard has been able to get a few goals this season too. And I think Tierney's always going to cause problems. And having Tomiyasu back, this is the one.
That is it. That is
I mean, I'm not over-exaggerating that, am I, Jess?
No, you're not. I mean, we've seen what we look like with him and what we look like without him and how much we have to. Everything changes. The Saka's game changes. Ben White's game changes. Everybody's game kind of changes when Tomiyasu is not there. So seeing him in the team as well as Odegaard gives me a little bit more like, okay, Saka is fit, ready to go. So it's looking like as strong as we can possibly go in the circumstances, with Thomas Partey able to come off the bench if something happens. So yeah, I think we're okay here. But Paul has actually just shown up, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in so we can get his thoughts on the lineup, what he thinks the formation is going to be, and who needs to have a good game. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Woohoo! Just thought I'd pop in and say hello.
Hi, Paul.
Well,
hi, Sophie. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much, mate. How are you?
Good. I've been listening in, so I'm up to speed on your thoughts on everything.
Well, you don't get just to pop in and say hello. You have to work now.
Okay.
You have to actually work now. So, Paul.
Yeah.
What are we looking at here? Is it a 4-3-3? Is it just what are we doing here? And what do you think of the lineup? And I have another question after that, but just let's go with that first. Let's do that.
Well, I don't think we can do any better than the lineup. It's great to see Partey in midfield. We got 5 subs. We might end up needing them. So, you know, when you look at the, like, I think it's 3 in midfield. Maybe we'll go back to Odegaard on the left, and yeah, it's a tough one though. You got obviously Lokonga, probably Smith Rowe and Odegaard. I think that's the way it's going to go. Smith Rowe probably on the left this time. We've seen 2 iterations before with Smith Rowe on the right and Odegaard on the left. That didn't work the first time around. I think that was Crystal Palace. Then we tried a version of it with Odegaard on the right, and that was okay. So I think maybe Odegaard on the right, Smith Rowe on the left, and to his left will be Martinelli on the wing. So it'll be interesting to see. That'll be a very fast wing, a very direct wing potentially, with Tierney, Martinelli, and Odegaard, and a bit more tiki-taka up the right wing with Lokonga leaning that way a little bit, with Odegaard over there, Tomiyasu back, Saka ahead. So I think the left side trying to get in behind Trent Alexander, Arsenal, maybe for the day, Trent Alexander, and trying to get direct in behind, ping that, hit Martinelli, Ramsdale going long on that side. I think our midfield will be under a lot of pressure, so we'll need to relieve it. Hopefully what we see is quality when we get the ball, because if we spill it too easily, we're going to stay under pressure. So when we do get the ball, what I'm hoping we'll see is that we ping it out successfully, as we did against Liverpool, we did against City, really, when we had the ball. Take care of the ball when we have it, and then 1 or 2 passes, and then ping it up to Martinelli, up to Saka, relieve the pressure, and hopefully stay up there for a little bit with the crowd behind us.
Yeah, I have to be honest, because a lot of times when we've seen similar lineups to this, where Odegaard and Smith Rowe have been in midfield, everybody assumes that it's going to be this really fun, attacking group. And it never really comes out. It never really shows up that way. As far as I'm concerned, we're a 4-2-3-1 until something changes. So I kind of agree with Yo-Yo here. Yo-Yo says ESR, Odegaard as 8s have struggled with Partey, Xhaka, Elneny as 6s. Sambi will have to come of age tonight. And I think one of the most important things is getting the distances right. They need to stay near Sambi, and Sambi needs to stay near them, because if we have big gaps in midfield, we're gonna get smashed. But it's a strong lineup, as strong as we can possibly go. So there's no real excuses, except like all I expect is like a performance. Like that's pretty much it. Like my expectations are not super, super high because I know it's Liverpool. But I'm gonna go ahead and bring in Scott here because he showed up as well. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
Bloody hell.
Wait, where's the yeehaw? What happened to that?
Oh, sorry, I didn't bring it in. Yeah.
Thank you for coming by, dropping by, saying hello. I'm going to put you to work just like Paul, though. Paul wanted to stop by and just say hello, but we're at work now.
I'm delighted to see funny guy Scott. He's probably here to see one of his other bets in the top 4, seeing as he had such a great day backing Spurs
if people were calling
yesterday.
me a Spurs fan yesterday, I was disappointed.
Wow.
But
he likes the model that shows Spurs coming fourth.
Oh my goodness. Scott, have you seen the lineup?
I
Are you up
did.
to
Yeah,
speed?
I am. I'm excited about it. Concerned but excited, I guess, at the same time. I don't know what else you can do given how many players that we, kind of have missing. You look at the bench and you kind of think, I don't think you could really do anything besides what we decided to do here. So I think it's about as good as we can do. I'm excited for this one. Probably nervously excited. I'm maybe too excited. I'm getting my hopes up here, and I think that I'm ready to be hurt.
For Liverpool or for
I'm
Arsenal?
ready.
Oh, and by the way, you can follow Scott at Oh That Judas on
There you go.
Twitter.
Thank you.
Wow.
So Scott, I have to. So we've seen the lineup and we kind of know it's some version of a 4-3-3. That's what we're assuming. But how do we actually win the game? We were quite conservative in the last match because we had to be, because we were down a man. But it worked for us to absorb pressure. And in the FA Cup, we did the exact same thing against Man City, absorbed the pressure and hit them on the counter. Sophie said that she thinks we should go after them early. Do you think we should sit back or attack early? What would you be doing if you were Arteta in terms of what do we do in that first half to stay in the game?
I could see kind of both ways here. So for me, I could see this team as one that's probably better with the ball than defending without the ball. So I think it's either we need to be significantly up in their side of the field, pressing them, trying to create things from there. But the other side of this is Liverpool really struggled to break down Arsenal when we, dropped deep into our shell last time. And I think that was something that was quite effective, being able to try to create some chances on the counter through Saka and Martinelli. So I think that might be how we see things going. Maybe that gives you, if we're going to go with three in the midfield, maybe it's, we kind of, I think even Lacazette will probably kind of come into the midfield too. So we're going to try to congest that area, try to play on the counter through Martinelli and Saka, and hopefully maybe then from there be able to create things. The one big mistake was from Arsenal pressing last time, right? It was, we really committed people forward. That led to Xhaka being exposed, trying to cover space. So maybe we'll learn from that and maybe not try to be quite as aggressive playing in their half as much as I think we'd all like to be able to see that.
Paul, who needs to... Oh, go ahead, Sophie.
No, I was going to say, I'd love to see us kind of, the way we went at Leicester at King Power earlier in the season, the way we took Tottenham and scored them at home in the first half. We had some really good first half performances and were able to, yes, be under pressure in the second half in certain games where we led. But I think being at home for this one and knowing that we have some fragility in the midfield in that first 20 minutes, I really hope we do go for it. And one of the things I was going to ask you guys is Arteta wasn't afraid to sub Nuno in that FA Cup in the first half. So if things aren't working out in midfield, I don't think he's going to think twice about pulling the plug on either Ødegaard or Sambi and bringing in Thomas. What do you guys think about that?
I think that makes sense. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that was a very particular instance to pull somebody out. Like he had Tierney warming up after 27, 28 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't just that he didn't like the performance. He didn't like how the guy came on the pitch, how he was responding, how he was listening. It wasn't quite at the level or, I could see him making changes at halftime. I could see him maybe protecting a player. I think the Nuno thing was a kind of a special thing. I also don't like Ødegaard is not a guy. I could see him making changes for sure in terms of shape, setup, but probably he might need to hang on there till halftime. By that stage, the players may be begging to have a change, to have a tweak at that stage. What I do think about this lineup, though, is it could be a very pressing lineup. Like you don't really think of us pressing Liverpool in principle, but then you look at the players, right? And you look at his alternatives. Do you want to sit back with that midfield? Like whether to Jess's point, it's 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, it's going to look like 4-4-2 very, very quickly. Now, the one choice you do have, like you got Lacazette and Odegaard, who are two of our primary pressing agents. You got Martinelli, you got Smith Rowe. Who am I missing here? Saka. And it's like, if you're the man, like, we have become much more of a pressing team. And maybe you say to yourself, I got the crowd behind me, we're at home. How much time do I want to spend? And how do I hurt Liverpool without an experienced midfield who've played together? Maybe we keep it simple. Go long, kick it up the other end, and press the bejesus out of them as much as we can, while keeping a shape with our defensive line. So could be something to watch. He's got 5-6 players who could do a pressing job if he's had the chance to train the others to step into those spaces to give them some security while they press.
I agree.
Interesting.
There's about 630 of you guys here. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Gently caress the like button and subscribe, all those things. So I want to ask you guys just really quickly, just quick answers before we move on to some transfer rumors. Who has to step up today? Who absolutely has to have a good game, or we don't win it? Scott, I'll start with you first.
I mean, I think the easy answer is that our best player, Saka, is going to be the one that we're going to look to. He had the best chance for Arsenal in the game last time. I thought that he was absolutely excellent, really being able to be a pressure reliever valve for when we are sitting deep. So I think he's got to be the guy that if something good's going to happen, I think it's going to be coming through him. I mean, it's tough to put that pressure on him, but he's our best player and the one that I think that is going to be the most important. And I think we're going to need goals and shots, and I think he's going to be the one that I'm going to look for.
Sophie, what do you think?
I think this is a massive game for Lokonga. I said earlier on, this could be the coming of age, the signature performance where, without Partey, without Xhaka, he shows that he does have that ability to really make it in the Arsenal midfield. It's not going to make or break him, but it is a really, really big game for him in particular, I think.
Paul?
So I'm going to pick a name, and what fascinates me is that when I thought of this name, it wasn't for the way we think of these players 3-4 years ago. Ramsdale. And what's interesting is we don't even think about shot stopping anymore, right? I didn't pick him because, he'll need to save a lot of, that's his part-time job. That's what he does in the evenings. So I picked Ramsdale because we're going to want to play out from the back, but we're also going to want to be able to hit Martinelli, zip it up the middle, some daisy cutters to Lacazette, mix it up to get out. And it's a few times recently I'm thought, Jesus, I don't even think about our goalkeepers as actual goalkeepers anymore. They are how we build play, how we mix it up, how we relieve pressure, and also he needs to stop the ball getting in the back of the net. So
that would be good.
Yeah, those are all really good choices. I'm going to go with something a little bit different. I think I'm going to go with Arteta. I think in games like this, he kind of needs to
because we might need him in midfield.
Exactly. No, but because he just needs to be on job. He needs to be on job. I think it's important for him to sense what moment we are in the game. And if we go down, he has to be on top of it at halftime. If we have an opportunity, he needs to know when to sub. Things like that. We've seen in semifinals that Arteta has sometimes made the right decisions and not made the right decisions. So I think Arteta is somebody that I'm going to be looking at, he's going to need to lead the team from the sideline. We don't have anybody in the middle of the pitch to really lead. It's a really young midfield, and the back line are going to be probably under some pressure. And we're looking at Lacazette as our one leader. So I think Arteta is going to have to be somewhat of a captain on that sideline. So we'll either be talking about at the end of the game what a masterclass he had, or potentially a disaster class if he doesn't do the right thing. So I think I'm looking at Arteta for this match. But now let's pivot just a little bit before we go to predictions. Just a quick chat about some transfer news that has come out today. this is probably why Elliot really didn't want to be here, because we're going to talk about a goalkeeper, and he doesn't care about goalkeepers. But Sophie, this is probably a good opportunity for you to be on the show too, because you may know something a little bit about this player. It's Matt Turner. We have been linked with him for goalkeeper. Obviously, backup. We need one if Leno were to leave. But there's also rumors coming out that Newcastle want to take Leno on a loan with an obligation to buy. What do you think of all this goalkeeper chat? And do you think Matt Turner is good enough to be backup for Arsenal?
What I love, especially living in the United States now, is the fact that there are a lot of talented US players that are making noise in Europe. And Matt Turner, actually, for those who are in Europe and don't know, was the first choice goalkeeper for the US men's national team over Zach Steffen, even in some games over the last year or so. Now, granted, Zach's obligations to Manchester City are a little bit more intense than Matt Turner and New England Revolution. However, he's been playing under a coach who I think, and, you know, don't kill me for saying this, but I'm just giving you a comparison so you understand. He is the Sir Alex Ferguson of Major League Soccer. Bruce Arena has won everything at every level across a few teams. He's a brilliant coach. Matt Turner is 27 years old. He's been able to keep Zach Steffen, the backup goalkeeper at Manchester City, out of the national team. He won the CONCACAF Gold Cup and was part of that last year. And he's really, really talented, and he's a really good character, and he's a great teammate, and he's a hard worker. I cover the US men's national team and the women's team as well. And seeing the evolution of some of these players and what they're able to offer is, I think, really interesting for not only US soccer, but what that can offer for the team when these players go out and play in Europe. If Leno does go on to Newcastle, whether it's a loan deal or we do sell Leno longer term in the summer, I think Matt Turner would be a great backup. I think that at his age, he's at that maturity level that a goalkeeper needs. Now, Ramsdale is ahead of time. Not every goalkeeper is ahead of time the way Ramsdale is. But Matt Turner has played at the highest level here. He's going to be part of the US men's national team World Cup roster. He could even be the starter over Zach Steffen in the World Cup. We don't know yet. But the manager definitely loves him. His teammates love him. And Jess, I know you've seen him play as well. He's a good keeper, and I think someone that would fit in perfectly at Arsenal.
Could he potentially challenge Ramsdale, or is this somebody that is kind of, the step down?
I think it's going to be a little bit like Edison and Steffen. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very similar situation. You always want Ramsdale to start. You always want Ramsdale to play. But if he doesn't, Turner can come in. And I don't know about you, but I think he's pretty good I think he's a great shot stopper, but I do think he has good feet and his distribution is pretty decent. And I think that's going to be the key for anyone coming in to be a second to Ramsdale at Arsenal in the way Arteta wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, from what I know of him, just like you said, good shot stopper, good vibes. He's also just like a good person to have around. Yes. And then he's okay with his feet. Scott, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you care about the backup goalkeeper position? Is it something you think is important, or are you kind of like, oh, just get it done?
I don't think you have to have one. So that's where the initial talks of Leno leaving this, January, I was like, that seems a little bit weird. And there's no real links of somebody coming in to replace him. And I think you can't go with, a kid there right now. Arsenal, still have a lot to play for. And, suspension to Ramsdale could seriously hurt things. So I think this is a Turner to come in and be a backup for right now. I think that'd be totally fine. I know in the Discord, Matt Giant Gunner posted a bunch of really interesting graphics on him. And yeah, the thing that really jumps out is he is an amazing shot stopper. He's an aggressive goalkeeper, likes to come out and claim things that are in his area. So I think that's something that if we're looking at something that would be a fit for what you'd see in the Premier League, I think those are the things that I really like to see. I know there are significant questions about how he would fit in with Arteta ball. For me, that's a little bit less important for a backup goalkeeper. To me, it's just, I want to be able to not feel completely nervous when a backup goalkeeper comes in, and I think he would definitely check those boxes. Looking at his passing, it's not that dissimilar to what Ramsdale's doing. I don't know if he has the same ability to hit, like the frozen rope kind of passes out to what Martinelli kind of things do, but I don't think that we would be totally lost with him in the back being able to do our things that we like to be able to do building out. To me, he's a perfect kind of goalkeeper that you go for a backup. I don't think you're definitely going to lose any value on there. So if somebody does, or if he doesn't quite work out, or he wants to go get first team, I think you'll get back your transfer fee. Maybe you'll make a profit on there. So it seems entirely reasonable to make sense to go for him.
What I like about the move is that it seems affordable. You don't want to spend a lot for a backup goalkeeper. Let's keep it real. And his wages would probably be significantly less than Leno's. Leno is on like at least $100,000 a week. And as Arsenal fans, we have been we're probably the most in tune with the financial aspect of the club more than any other fan base. So no other fan base talks about wages and stuff, but we talk about it. And if he's on half of what Leno is on, that cuts the wage bill again, which is good. We know said Kolasinac is gone, and so that definitely helps. And maybe it's freeing up wage space for a big signing, maybe somebody like Vlahovic. Paul, what do you think about the Vlahovic situation? Do you think it's happening? Do you think it's not? Should we move on? I'm getting a little bit of that, like, are we signing him or not? Like, if we're not, he's a bum and I don't want him. What do you think about that situation? And do you think that this is the type of signing that we have to make in order to get into the top four? Or do you think not so much?
I think you're probably right to pivot to he's a bum. I just think that's such a stretch to happen this window. And the vibes, like not much has really happened in the last week or so. And I do tend to think these days the rumor mill's pretty good. The good rumors are good. I know that's a bit of a tautology, but it's not like 5-6 years ago when we were all worried about some player and then somebody else comes in at the last moment. We do tend to seem to have a pretty good record of tracking who's actually coming and who's not. And that, like, I wouldn't write it off totally, but that one feels like it's stalled. I do think it'd be a huge deal for us in a bid to get top four, but like when you look at the available, like this Matt Turner thing, right? We kind of know it looks like it's probably going to happen. The Melo thing, you have a very clear view that that's probably going to happen. The rumor mill is not like, I don't know if you guys remember rumors 5 or 6 or 7 years ago on Twitter, but like you could bet against any rumor. Now, any decent rumor that has any kind of longevity and a bit of multiple reports from vaguely respectable journos, and you can like bet your house it's for real. It may not happen, but it's for real. So I think Vlahovic feels like it's one that we were very serious about, but probably not going to happen. Melo feels like it's definitely happening, and although still Berto shat all over Melo.
He did and said he was another Ceballos, and I was like, oh.
How could he do that? It's kind of like crapping on your Christmas presents before you've opened them.
Is that actually shitting on him? I don't know, Mr. I have a Ceballos jersey.
Yeah. you love Ceballos.
Yeah, well, I mean, if only you were a little bigger, a little more physical. So, no, I'm excited about Melo. I'm not going to let still Berto put me off. I think he's quick. He's like, I think when he's got the ball, he looks pretty athletic. It's I think he'd suit a midfield three. Yeah, I think he suits a midfield three. He's not a Xhaka replacement. He's not a party replacement. But if you had a midfield three, and you want to, we don't have that much possession. We're probably struggling to hit the 50% mark possession wise. And I think Melo's the kind of guy who can absorb some pressure, help you hold on to the ball, dribble to beat a guy, and find a better passing lane. I'd like it. So we'll see.
Yeah, what we kind of do know about the Vlahovic situation is just we're willing to make the deal happen. Fiorentina want to sell, obviously, but there's that gray area of space, like that the wall there with the agent and him that are like, not sure if we want to go to Arsenal. And Arteta made a big statement before about not wanting to have to convince players too much and all of this. And it seems like this is something that would take a lot of convincing. So I'm not really sure where we're going with it. But the latest on Artur is that Juventus would be okay with an 18-month loan with an option to buy. That's a long time to loan somebody out. Scott, how do you feel about us potentially loaning this guy for over a season, over a year, taking on his wages? Do you think that sounds like a good deal, or why do they want to get rid of this guy at all costs?
Well, I mean, they have financial issues, so I think that's kind of one of the things that they're looking for as well. I guess when I was looking at him, I'm, I guess, tepidly excited. I guess it depends on what the role is for him. I definitely don't think that he's a come in, be a guaranteed starter kind of a thing. I thought he made perfect sense as a depth signing kind of a thing, where especially if we're looking to be in Europe next year, I think that's something that also makes sense. We're going to have extra matches that we'll need to be able to cover for. And, I think we needed somebody besides Partey and Xhaka, and hopefully maybe a Xhaka replacement compared to actually playing with Xhaka. So I looked at him and thought, is he better than Mohamed El-Neni? And yes. So that was kind of my low bar that I wanted any loan signing to be able to be better than. I think he'd probably be better for the time being than Lokonga, who I thought has been actually pretty good. When I went and I looked at the numbers, he kind of looked like what you would expect from El-Neni, but better. Pretty safe passing, does a lot of passing. So he's definitely a kind of a tempo setter. He's the guy that is very involved in everything going around, but I don't know if it might be frustrating for some people because there's a lot of sideways passing. Generally, it's very safe passing. He does do fairly good, I guess, in the counting number parts of how much progressive passing and how many final third entries he does. But I think a lot of that is just he does a lot of passing. So by extension,
was he
he's going to have a lot
passer at Barcelona? Because I know he was given a deeper role at Juve, kind of more play from deep role at Juve, and he was a bit more of a general midfielder at Barcelona. Was he a safe passer at Barcelona?
Not quite as much, because right, that's definitely right. Yeah, Busquets is in that 6 role at Barcelona, so he didn't play as much in that. Played more as the 8 when he was at Barcelona, where he did a little bit more of the advanced passing. So I think that's a good point. It depends on where he would be at Arsenal and what role he would be asked to play. Suarez
didn't like playing with him very much from some of his kind of sound bites, and some Barca fans kind of were upset when he got transferred to Juventus. He hasn't really he played more with under Pirlo, hasn't really played much. And if people think that Xhaka passes backwards and sideways, if you're a fan of that, then this is your guy. But for me, why aren't we being more aggressive about going after an unhappy Gigi Wijnaldum at PSG? He's played in the Premier League, and come in, has the physicality and also the talent to be able to kind of step in right away and make an immediate impact and difference, whereas Artur might need time to settle. So I'm not sure that's realistic with Gigi.
I think there's an obvious common denominator there, with that. I mean, Artur, Edu, like, to me, that makes the most sense. And why would we be going after Artur versus Gini Wijnaldum? Now, there's also the rumor that Gini wants to stay at PSG. He's unhappy, but he's willing to fight for his place. So I'm not sure how true that is, but that is kind of going around the rumor mill. But we have to kind of accept this as well. I think we're going to see this over the years, as long as Edu is our director of football, that there might be a little bit of jobs for the boys, just a little bit, trying to make sure that some of the Brazilian national team players are working. Coutinho made his move. Artur is obviously making his. There's a World Cup in less than 12 months. So we have to kind of look at that as well. But I think it's up in the air. He could end up being an El-Neni plus or end up flopping. We don't know. But Sophie, for you, just quick fire, is it more important to get a midfielder or a striker? What do you think?
Midfielder in this window. I don't think the long-term striker, the future of Arsenal up front isn't going to happen until the summer. Just my personal opinion. I think we need a midfielder. I also think that we need a right back. I'd like Arsenal to look at Julian Araujo, who plays right back at LA Galaxy. He's a very, very talented player. He's going to be in Europe in the next year or so. I also think we need a centre-back cover as well. Those are the positions between now. We never thought we'd be in this position to maybe get top 4, Jess. So now we're here. Those are the positions I think that are going to help us maybe get into that top 4.
All right. Well, that's enough of that. We've done the transfers to death. You guys have gotten your update. Let's get back onto the game. Predictions. What do we think is going to happen? Are we going to the final? Are we going to Wembley? Or are we going out? Paul, you usually write on predictions, so we'll go with you first. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
Well, I had a good run because I kept betting against Arsenal, a trick I learned from Scott at Oh That Judas on Twitter. I think we're going to win today. I think we're going to win 2-1. I really think it could be an interesting game plan here, and quite an attacking approach, as attacking as we possibly can be with this midfield. But I think 2-1. There's going to be goals in this because I just don't think we're going to sit back. So if we go at them, they're going to score. We're going to score. It feels like a 2-1.
So
I'm going to go with a 2-2, and I think unfortunately this might be settled on penalties, and Ramsdale can be the hero.
Okay, Scott.
I'm also kind of feeling this is going to go to extra time, and I think there's a good chance of penalties. I think it's going to be 1-1 after the end of extra time, and I'm hoping that we win this one on penalties. Yeah, I was just looking at it, and the betting odds are saying 47% for Arsenal, and that feels uncomfortably high for me right now. Feeling as I am not an Arsenal fan, apparently, as Paul likes to bring up and remind us that I hate us.
Well, I'm going to go with a 2-1 to the Arsenal. I think we'll get it over the line. I have a weird feeling that we end up in the final, and I think it's important that we get to Wembley and we go as far as we possibly can in this tournament or this cup, because we're not in anything else, So there you go, 2-1 to the Arsenal. But we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this one. I was super nervous because every time I have to host this, it feels like I'm intruding in Elliot's home or something. And it's like I've never done these streams before, but it went okay. I think it went fine. So you guys can follow Scott at O_that_crab.
Judas.
Yeah.
Judas. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you. Glad to pop in.
All right. You can follow Paul at, where can we follow you at? I don't see it here.
Paul's not in my pants.
I don't know how to spell that or anything.
They
but
do. Everybody knows how to spell that. Poznan.
Okay.
In my
as long
pants.
as they know it. Thank you so much for popping in, Paul. We'll see you soon.
Bye, Sophie. Bye, Jess.
Bye, Paul. Great to meet you. Take care,
You
mate.
too.
Bye. All right, Sophie, thank you so much for joining me on such short notice. You are my savior. Thank you so much. I really enjoy it when we get to talk to each other and all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully the next time that we chat, we're talking about going to Wembley. Where can everybody find you?
That would be epic. You can follow us at Highbury Squad. Check out our content on YouTube, at Highbury Squad on all social platforms. And I'm at Soccer Diva. But I'm really not a diva. It's a name I came up with years ago. But thanks for having me. And you have a great crowd in chat. I appreciate all the comments. Thanks, Jess.
All right. Thanks, Soph. See you soon.
Okay. See ya. Bye.
All right, guys. That is it. You can follow me on Twitter at Jessinio Tweets. Obviously, the Arsenal Vision crew will be doing a instant match reaction after, so make sure if you are a patron, you can be a part of that, and then they'll do a full pod at some point. I don't know the schedule. I'm not Elliot, but hey, it's been fun. Hopefully we'll be talking about going to Wembley, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.